Good morning. Welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide webinar for February 13, 2019. I am Jerry Hafner. Maryland is here along with the entire Adult Education team. This story really touched me and I would like to share it with you. It's about a young man by the name of Sean Brown. His journey to Indiana was not, as you will see, an easy ride. In his own words, he said, "Growing up, I was dealt a pretty tough hand. My parents divorced at a really young age. I had division in the family, lived in cars and shelters, was exposed to drugs and shady people, and saw my mom's abusive boyfriends do some really wicked things. I was forced to grow up really quickly, from skipping school to failing most of my classes to resorting to a life of drugs and alcohol. I made just about every mistake a 17-year-old kid who was angry at the world could make. Every adult warned me, from my teachers to my grandparents to people I met wandering around town at ridiculous hours of the night. I knew deep down that I needed a change, but I had so many coping mechanisms that I didn't know how to let go of, that it began to overwhelm me, and eventually it was defeating me. One morning, I woke up an hour and a half late for work with $7 in my pocket, and had nothing else to my name but a Ford Explorer with a bad transmission and a busted out back window with a gas tank on empty. This was the morning I decided it was time for a change. I moved in with my grandparents and started climbing the ladder. Within 2 years, I was making almost $30 an hour at a great job. I had 3 vehicles. I had been completely sober and clean, and by God's will, I broke my body and mind to get it. For a while, I felt like I had made it. I then decided it was time to leave my hometown of Seattle, Washington, and come to Angola, Indiana, to be with an amazing woman. I thought surely I had the world eating out of my hand, that I was the best kid to ever grab a tool belt. The only problem is that here in Indiana, you need to have the credentials as well, and all your skills are meaningless without a degree or a high school diploma at a minimum. I settled for a job that was paying about half of what I was getting paid before, and I had to sell some of my stuff just to stay afloat. I found out about Impact Institute through my girlfriend's parents. Not only did Impact Institute give me all the tools I needed to get my HSC, but it gave me an opportunity to go even further. I was able to get a grant to go to a variety of different trade schools and certification classes of my choosing for free, and I'm extremely excited to use this opportunity to grow and to be an example of the way a second chance can impact the world. What a powerful story. And thank you, Impact Institute and Sean, for sharing that story with us. Let's go to Central Indiana. I really enjoyed this story as well. Glendoris Anderson earned a high school equivalency diploma through Warren Township's adult education program several years ago. But she recently returned for career training, and she wanted to improve her Microsoft skills. The teachers were excellent and would stick with you to make sure you got it. I never felt embarrassed or threatened, and always felt free to ask questions, Glendora said. She works as a guest service associate at the Indianapolis Marriott East, and she was recently selected as the 2018 Rose Award winner, and Rose stands for Recognition of Service Excellence for her hard work and dedication in the service industry. Glendoris is responsible for greeting guests, providing assistance with directions, luggage handling, local information, and more. She has been mentioned over 600 times in TripAdvisor ratings in the last 2 years alone. And they constantly mention her caring and her genuine welcome that she delivers to guests. Glendora shared with other Warren Township young adults about her career, encouraging them to pursue their education, to show respect, and to work hard in all aspects of life. And let's go down to southern Indiana, the road to the White House and beyond. This is a story about Jennifer. Jennifer was the fifth daughter in her family to obtain her GED or HSC at the Career Resource Center of Brown County, and then go on to be successful in both her college classes and her career. A homeschool student, the moment Jennifer turned 16, she signed up for the HSE program and took the task test. Days after the test, Jennifer and two of her sisters ventured off on a road trip to visit all the states except for Hawaii and Alaska. Since they were to be on the road for 6 months, Jennifer's parents allowed her to continue traveling contingent on her graduation. She called nearly every day, very anxious, awaiting her results. The call came when she was in Vermont. I was so nervous that I froze, and I didn't answer until the second call, she said. When she called back, the staff at Brown County congratulated her on her graduation. Jennifer enrolled at Ivy Tech following her trip and then earned a degree in visual communications. She worked in a local retail shop, but she was eager to do more with her degree. She then began an internship at a local community foundation. After completing later an internship at the White House the following year, Jennifer returned to work at the foundation where she can use her skills she learned through her education. What 3 wonderful stories that you have shared with us, and thank you so much for sharing them with us this morning. We have an old friend and someone that you may recognize this morning. Chris Fitzgerald is here, and he is going to do the Youth Initiatives update.
Good morning, Adult Ed Overlords. It has been a minute, and I am happy to be back. I'll run through some of these updates really quick, but if you have any questions or comments, I know we're pressed for time today, go ahead. You see my email there on the screen. Go ahead and email me, or I see they put my address up there, so you can swing by the Government Center. Check out my cube. It's the one with the Star Wars cups. Okay, we'll start off with the GWEC update. That's the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate. This program is in its 3rd year. We currently have 160 schools and CTE centers involved, and over 600 employers across 20 industries who recognize this certificate. We are currently working on an interactive map which will identify all schools, employers, and incentives that are available statewide, and once that's ready to go, I'll share that out with all of you. Again, if you start seeing any students or that have this certificate, there are a lot of employers and a lot of advantages that they should be utilizing. Again, to get the certificate, you don't need to graduate high school either. So you can see a lot of students definitely ask if they've got this certificate. An update on the JAG program. Our regional CDCs are underway. As many of you may be aware, we have an annual competition on various employability skills, first at the regional level and then at the state level. The state competition will be March 15th at the Ivy Tech main campus in Indianapolis, where we expect the governor to speak. And I'll give you more updates on that next month. Also, many of you may not be aware, JAG has a CSP program, which is a college success program. The regular JAG program model as we have it right now is in the 11th and 12th grade space in high school. The college success program continues that on into college. We have 2 of these programs up and running, one in Fort Wayne and one in Indianapolis, both with Ivy Tech. Over 100 students were served in the program's first year, which we are now in the second, and the persistence rate is over 60% on both campuses. Currently, we have 57 students enrolled in CSP programs. A couple quick success stories from this include 3 Fort Wayne students who have been admitted to the nursing program this year, and an Indianapolis student who graduated with an Associate of Science in Human Services back in December. On to the Governor's Workforce Cabinet Youth Committee update. The meeting was held at the Pivot Re-Engagement Center in Indianapolis on January 17th, and the bulk of the meeting had committee members being treated to an excellent and informative presentation about the Pivot Center and how they engage youth, as well as a tour of the facilities, which I was there, and it was awesome. The committee then heard an overview of legislation involving youth in the workforce moving to the State House, which, by the way, Rob Moore, if you're out there, I know you were concerned about the homeless youth and HSC legislation. I think they have a hearing today, so stay tuned on that. And the committee also got to hear some JAG and GWEC updates. That's all I got for you today. I will see you in a month.
Thank you so much, Chris. Some reminders. We will hold Adult Education Director and PDF meetings next week, so we'll see you face-to-face at the Shepherd Community Center on East Washington Street in downtown Indianapolis. The meetings begin at 10 a.m. Indianapolis time. Directors will meet in the main building. PDFs will meet in the outside building where directors met in December. Directors, please, you will need to allow a little extra time to be processed through the main building, and be sure to bring your ID. So that is next week at 10 a.m. Also, put this date on your calendar. The final adult education and PDF meetings of the program year will be May 10th. More information will be forthcoming, but please mark this date on your calendar so that you have May 10th reserved. Nancy will mention these professional development opportunities in the PD report in a few minutes, but I wanted to highlight them as well. A makeup date for the WEI and IET training will be scheduled in the spring. The Indianapolis training was held as scheduled, but snow and cold, and boy was it cold and was it snowy on that Friday morning. It kept some programs close to home, understandably, but we wanted to make sure that you had another opportunity to attend. Linda Warner and Denise Cox are presenting the WEI and IET training. So we will let you know when we get that date scheduled in spring. So if you did not have an opportunity to attend, you'll be able to come in the spring. And yes, they have recorded a webinar, which we'll be posting soon, and we will let you know where to find that on our website as soon as it's posted. Also, some additional save the dates. How to Teach Reading in the Adult Education Classroom is scheduled in person for March 14th and 15th at the J. Everett Career Center in Indianapolis. There are pre- and post-webinars to attend on February 20th and April 17th. Like our WEI and IET presenters, Dr. Fantaine and Sarah Gutting are seasoned adult educators, and I might also mention to you, included in their presentation will be strategies to assist adults with special learning needs. So make sure you have those dates on your calendar. Turning to task. The task test writing essay field test is open to all non-correctional computer-based test centers. Participation is encouraged, but it's not mandatory. The goal of the field test is to verify that new essay questions are ready to be included in future task test forms. Any examinee who registers for the writing subtest is eligible to participate in the field test. Examinees who complete the writing essay field test will receive a $25 gift card. Test centers receive $10 from DRC for every writing essay field test submitted. If you're interested in participating, there is contact information on the screen for you. Let's turn to NRS Table 4, Column I. A programming error was discovered in enters that inflated the number and percentages of measurable skill gains for this program year. Matt, in a few minutes, will go into more detail about what actually happened. But last Monday, our state performance was at 52.5% on column I. After the corrections were made, the change was made, we dropped nearly 4 percentage points to just at 48%. Today, when I ran the report, we are at 47.76%. So, bottom line, you probably will see some changes in your program's Table 4, Column I percentage as a result of this change. But Matt will explain a little bit more in just a few minutes. When I ran Table 4 last week after the interest corrections, the statewide performance, as I said, was 48%. And there's all the columns and all the numbers that we have up there for you that you can look at a little bit later. Enrollment is down by more than 1,000 students. This is nearly a 7% decrease from a year ago. However, it's interesting, ELL enrollment is on pace with last year. We're just 8 students off from last year, but more than 1,000 students off from ABE. While ABE enrollment is down significantly, average contact hours is holding steady. It is at 65, no change from the previous program year. As a state, our measurable skill gains are about 2 percentage points down from a year ago this same time frame. And this is after the interest corrections were made. And as I said, some programs, though, are seeing, some local programs, though, even though we're at 49.01% as of February 7th, some local programs, though, are seeing increases with measurable skill gains compared to this time last year, while some other programs continue to struggle a little bit. And obviously, Table 11 and 12 is a more rigorous test, and I would suggest that please ensure that your teachers target their instruction to these new standards. There is some bright news. ELL measurable skill gains are up by 2 percentage points from a year ago at this same time. Unfortunately, this increase is not large enough to offset the decrease in ABE measurable skill gains. There is a 3 percentage point decrease in MSGs for ABE compared to this time a year ago. Measurable skill gains in other areas, rather than just a focus subject, are counting this year in enters. I might add, only focus subject gains counted last year in program year 2017-2018. Nancy is here, and she will cover some other areas related to performance. Nancy?
Good morning, everyone. We topped more than 2,000 HSEs by this time last year. Last year, enters showed 1,829 HSEs. We are down by nearly 320 HSEs from a year ago. The task dashboard shows 2,323 HSEs. This includes about 500 walk-ins. The number separated before gain is actually going down by more than 2 percentage points from a year ago, which is good news. Last year, more than 3,500 students had separated. This year, we're at 2,900 students. Good job keeping the students engaged. This slide breaks down the number separated before gain by program. ELL is at nearly 20%. The majority of ABE students are still falling in level 3. The next highest number is level 2. As you can see from this slide, levels 2 and 3 make up 72% of our ABE enrollment right now. We've shown this slide during several webinars. It compares ABE levels from program year 2017-2018 to this current program year. In 2017-2018, the majority of students were placed initially in levels 3 and 4. For students who utilize distance education, measurable skill gains continue to rise. The state's measurable skill gains for distance education are more than 55% as of last week. 1/4 of the students use distance education to help them move more quickly academically. The professional development team feels like this is a best practice, so please continue using distance ed and maybe consider increasing it in your programs.
Okay, thank you very much, Nancy. Trudy is here this morning, and she's going to provide some information and some updates about IETs. Trudy?
Good morning, everyone. We have 10 IELCE certifications, 182 IET certifications, and 10 pending applications. Monthly data report statewide enrollments are, for IET, we have 1593, that is 33% of our goal. For IELCE, we have 52, that is 9% of our goal. Total enrollments are 1593. Still enrolled students are 684. Dropped students are 143. Completed 766. Certification 562. On the right, you can see Jacqueline Turner, who came to Jennings County Education Center to obtain her HSC and become a medical assistant. She hopes to be working in a doctor's office by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trudy. Maryland is going to introduce a very special guest. Maryland?
Good morning, colleagues. As a follow-up to Shrudi's slide, I just want to remind everybody to make sure that you are appropriately coding your IET and IELCE completers in inters so that we are aware of who is actually still enrolled and who has completed classes. So our next presenter is Catherine Keegan. Many of you may have been on a webinar last month that she presented on around the Skillful Initiative. This is a governor's initiative, and Catherine is going to share today about the Governor's Coaching Corps and the coaching community of practice, and give you a little more information on how adult education can connect with that. Take it away, Catherine.
Thanks so much, Marilyn, and thanks everyone for joining this morning. I'm calling in from Colorado, but I was just in Indiana the last 2 days trying to spread the word about this program, and I appreciate you guys listening to this overview. Some of you may have been on the call, as Marilyn said, so I don't want to go into as much detail as that webinar, but I will be following up with the slides, with some flyers, and I'm happy to have any one-on-one conversations with any and all of you to answer any questions or concerns you may have about the program. Marilyn or Bob, can you guys advance the slide? So that is my face. That's who's talking today. I just wanted to give a brief overview of what I'll be talking about on this in this session. So wanted to cover Skillful's vision and our partnership with Indiana, just to give some context for why we're doing this coaching initiative. And then I'll give you more information and some updates about the Governor's Coaching Corps and coaching community of practice and some next steps. The next slide, I believe, has a video. So this we're not going to play on this webinar, but I will share it with you afterwards. A lot of times I'm presenting on these programs and they feel very abstract and it's hard to understand the impact that we're hoping to have. This video was done by our local CBS station in Denver on one of our coaching corps members in Colorado in our inaugural corps. And I think it highlights what we're really hoping to impact in Indiana, as well as in continuing to impact in Colorado. We're working to upskill and connect coaches so that they can better serve job seekers and students. And This really shows that. I'll talk a little bit quickly about the next slide, which is the Skillful theory of change. So Skillful is an initiative of the Markle Foundation, LinkedIn, and Microsoft have supported us, and the state of Colorado and now the state of Indiana are our two real operational states. And what we do at Skillful, we're trying to work to transform the labor market at scale to one that is largely based on degrees to one rooted in skills. So we're really focused on the 70% of Americans without a college degree and helping them secure good jobs in a rapidly changing economy. We do that by working with employers via intermediary partners to train them on skills-based hiring practices so that employers are recognizing the wide variety of life experiences and education experiences from which you gain skills, so that they're not removing people from options in their employment options at their company because they don't have a 4-year degree. We're working with coaches, which is what I'll talk a lot about today, to upskill and connect them so that they can prepare job seekers effectively in the future of work, and that they're talking to other people across the state in different parts of the workforce ecosystem. And at the same time, we're working with education providers, other training providers, to make sure that we're aligning in terms of data infrastructure. And I will say, we launched in Indiana in November, and we have just been blown away by how ahead Indiana is in a lot of these regards compared to what we've seen in Colorado. And I'm saying that as a Colorado native, so it's hard for me to say, but it's been really cool to learn from your state, and we're so excited to continue that growth in partnership with all of you. So going on to the next slide, in Indiana, we're really focused on applying data-driven insights and innovative technology and skills-based practices to move the needle for the labor market. So we've met with business services teams and leaders in Fort Wayne, Lafayette, New Albany to introduce our SkillWorks training and employer toolkits so that they can help employers improve their skills-based hiring practices or implement it to begin with. Career coaching, you're going to hear a lot about it shortly. And then our data skills and credentials are really focused on those partnerships with education and training providers and Lumina and Microsoft to explore how skills are being integrated into the data and tech tools. So as I said, we've launched in Indiana as of November of last year. We, in January, announced the hiring of our executive director for Skillful Indiana, and that's Bill Turner, who comes to us from Allison Transmission, the school board member for the Washington Township, and he is on the board of Employ Indy, though I think he has to step down since he's no longer part of industry. But he will be taking the lead in Indiana, and so you'll hear from him as we continue to launch in the state. Okay, so I talked really quickly through all of that context setting, and I did that because I really wanted to focus on our coaching initiative. So on this next slide, we talk about why we are investing in career coaching and what we consider a career coach. And in Indiana, again, compared to Colorado, the adult ed system in Indiana is much more robust, and we see it and have heard how integral the adult ed system is in the workforce ecosystem. So we want any adult ed providers to apply to both of our coaching initiatives and to be involved as we continue to grow our programs. When we talk about career coaches in Indiana and in our coaching initiative in general, we're talking about any professional who is helping job seekers, students, incumbent workers navigate their career journey and advance toward a chosen career path. So people that are providing that strategic guidance, resources, and support to help people persist in their skill development and advance in their chosen careers. It's a really broad term, and we want it to be broad because we're trying to work with people from across the workforce ecosystem, from work ones to Ivy Tech advisors to adult ed providers to nonprofits to the staffing agencies, anyone that is touching a job seeker, student, or worker. And we're investing in career coaches at Skillful because we know that as the economy is rapidly changing, that people are going to have to make really dramatic shifts in their careers and their employment. And people benefit, especially people that don't have a ton of supports outside of their, a ton of supports already they really benefit from having a go-to person that can help guide them and understand the future of work, so they're making really well-informed decisions about the path for them. So in the Career Coaching Initiative, we're really focused on breaking down silos, making sure that all coaches across the ecosystem in Indiana and in each region are really talking to each other and understanding what's happening with the coaching down the street. We want to upskill coaches and learn from the leaders in the coaching space in each state so that they can prepare job seekers effectively, and so that no matter what door a job seeker walks into, they have access to a really high quality, connected coach. We also really recognize the importance and the value of these career coaching professionals. They are on the ground, on the front lines, seeing the impact of policies and programs and seeing the impact of this economy shifting so rapidly, and they're responding. They're agile, and they are the experts in the field, and we want them to be seen as experts. So a lot of our programming is designed to really raise that profile so that they understand the value that they provide in the system, that they're motivated to continue to the work they do despite funding cuts, and so that policymakers and state leaders go to them for those insights. All of this is really designed to make sure that job seekers, students are put on better pathways in this changing world of work. So the two programs we have on the next slide are our Governor's Coaching Core and the Coaching Community of Practice. So these are our two programs for career coaches in the state of Indiana. The first is the Intensive Leadership and Training Program for 35 of Indiana's most talented career coaches. I'll talk more in detail on future slides about that. The Coaching Community of Practice is a lighter touch, complementary program to the Governor's Coaching Core. The Coaching Community of Practice takes place all online, and the Community of Practice is open to any career coach in Indiana, and it includes those Governor's Coaching Core members and future alumni of the Governor's Coaching Core. And that Community of Practice, again, is this virtual support network so that coaches can talk to each other, build their skills, and learn from the best practices across the state. I'm going to start with our intensive Governor's Coaching Core program. On the next slide, I describe the 3 pillars of the Governor's Coaching Core. So this 8-month program is 5 retreats that are in person, where we bring these 35 coaches together to focus on skill building in these 3 arenas. The first is solving high-profile challenges. So we break the 35 coaches up into 6 different action teams where they are working on researching, piloting, and understanding best practices or new innovations that they can then recommend to state leaders at the final retreat. At the same time, they're getting content at each retreat about how do you become a high-performing team? How do you strategically negotiate and persuade? How do you understand different communication styles and build teams that leverage the complementary strengths and skills of each teammate? So that skill building is happening, and at the same time, they're working on these action team projects where they present at the end to those state leaders. The second pillar is investing in personal leadership. Both the first and the second pillar are really designed around that, raising the profile of career coaches and creating leaders in the field of workforce development in this career coaching space. So in the Investing in Personal Leadership curriculum, we're actually very excited to be one of the first pilot opportunities for Brene Brown's new Dare to Lead curriculum. So the coaches will receive training on how to be an authentic, vulnerable leader that's living into values and how to apply those leadership skills to their job seekers and their work with students. So we've partnered with Brene Brown in her Dare to Lead model. So at the end of the coaching core, these 35 members of the Governor's Coaching Core in Indiana will be eligible to become certified in Brene Brown's Dare to Lead leadership curriculum. That's something that we don't have in Colorado, and we're really excited to be launching in partnership with Brene Brown's Dare to Lead Research Center. The third pillar is all about honing coaching expertise. So we're working with coaches to make sure that they understand what the future of work means for the types of skills they're referring their job seekers and students to get, the type of jobs that they're working to get their job seekers placed into, and ultimately that we're creating a space where these leaders in the coaching field can learn from each other. What is a coach at a Work One doing that a adult ed provider could apply in their classroom or in their one-on-one coaching sessions? What is a nonprofit providing that the workforce center down the street didn't know about? We want to make sure that we're cultivating those discussions, that we're bringing in employer perspectives, and that we're convening panels and best practices from local providers and local leaders across the state. So that's the governor's coaching core. On the next slide, I talked about the action team themes in a little bit more detail. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through those, but we really try to make these relevant to Indiana. So if you have a big issue area that you see or you face, your students face, please let us know. We want to make sure, again, that these are really relevant to the coaching communities in Indiana so that the recommendations to state leaders are really relevant and actionable. So in terms of value, on the next slide for the coaching core, Skillful Indiana covers the cost of lodging for the 5 in-person retreats. We cover the cost of all the materials and the training providers. We do mileage reimbursement for travel to the 5 retreats for each of the agencies. So the real cost to the organizations that are sending coaches is the time. And we understand that that's a huge burden, especially, again, with funding cuts in the state of Indiana and across the nation, that it's really hard to find coverage. But we really believe in the power of this program. And what I think is one of the big difference makers for our program that helps alleviate some of the pressure of this time away is that all of our content is designed to be taken back by those governor's coaching core coaches and shared with their colleagues and supervisors. And we give them tools, resources to do that. We're also checking in with supervisors to make sure that we can support them in any way in implementing any of the ideas that really resonate with the coach that they've sent. So the coaches get about 90 hours of expert training, again, fully funded by Skillful. They get one-on-one team coaching and individual coaching to improve their own skill building and their own abilities to coach others. And we're introducing them to a network of industry professionals, workforce experts, and state leaders so that they, again, are seen as leaders, the leaders that they are, and that they're informing the conversation. The coaches do have to attend 5 retreats that are 2 days. Again, we cover the lodging, but it is 2 days away from work. Typically, the coaches spend about 4 hours a week divided between the work hours and the personal time, and this is really where the action teams come in. So the coaches are working in their action teams between retreats and meeting virtually across the state, and we found that, you know, on average it's 4 hours a week. Of course, it ramps up as we get closer to the end where they're presenting. For the organizations, again, it's a no-cost professional development. What we've seen is that these coaches go back to their agencies. We're in the second cohort in Colorado. We've seen how energized and motivated these coaches are. I wanted to share a quote from one of the coaches that was part of the inaugural coaching core. And they said that they felt that they left the coaching core more well-rounded and better equipped to comprehend the job seeker's journey and the realities of the career world from the employer's point of view. The ability to connect with career coaches around the state, their insights and unique perspectives on the challenges and successes we all face was inspiring and created a community of collaboration and innovation. I now have a community to which I can turn for resources from all sectors, and I felt surrounded by like-minded individuals, and the commitment to serve and bring our inspiration back to our agencies was magnified by each coach's energy and dedication. That's what we really see as the benefit, is these improved motivation, improved upskilled coaches that are able to go back with new resources, new energy to better serve individuals. On the next slide, I just go over the time commitment and the funding. So again, Skillful Indiana covers the cost of lodging, food, materials, and mileage. Each of the retreats is about 18 hours total, starting on the first day at 8 a.m. and ending on the second day at 3 p.m. Between retreats, they're participating in one-on-one coaching calls for their personal and professional growth. They have one action team coaching call between each retreat, and then they're participating in the community of practice. So that's where we get our 160 hours over the course of the 8-month program from March to November in Indiana. And the expectation is that about 50% of that is company time, 50% of that is on the coach's personal time. So going on to the next slide, the coaching community of practice is, again, a complementary program to really capture all of the learning, institutional knowledge, and best practices from the coaching corps and otherwise across the state of Indiana. So many of you are probably parts of communities of practice in general. We are taking it and creating a virtual community of practice powered by Microsoft Teams that allows coaches to, again, participate in webinars, peer learning calls, even potentially in-person meetups that are regionally focused. There's a discussion forum, there's opportunities to beta test new tools, and then the content we provide is informed both by you all and state leaders, but also by the coaches themselves. On Microsoft Teams, they're able to do video conferencing. They have a news feed style wall that people can post questions on. And that's really where we've seen the impact of the coaching community of practice in Colorado. Colorado, we have 260 members from across the state that are participating on the community of practice. The big benefit is, one, it's free to register. The only eligibility is that you are a career coach in Indiana. The other big benefit is that you have access to this network of really talented individuals. And we've seen that newer coaches in the coaching space were able to post on the community of practice and say, hey, I had this client come in with this characteristic. I don't know how to serve them. And they have 10, 15 coaches, providers that respond with ideas and best practices. And that's what we want to continue creating. I myself come from a career coaching background and actually an adult ed background in Texas, where we were training ESL teachers, and I was working with newly arrived refugees to place them in jobs. And if you had told me about labor market information when I was this 22-year-old career coach, I would have no idea where to go or what you were talking about. We want to make sure that no new coach feels that way, that they then can log on and say, hey, what are the in-demand jobs here? What are the tools I need to go to? And Skillful can provide that insight in partnership with the state and in partnership with all of you. And these other coaches can help provide that information. So I kind of got ahead of myself. On the next slide, I talk about the value that we see in the community of practice. The big benefit, again, to this is that it's kind of opt-in. So for coaches that are maybe at a one-person shop that aren't selected or can't participate in the governor's coaching corps, they can opt in and become leaders in the coaching community of practice. We want this to grow and become really by the coaches and for the coaches, and really responsive to the coaches' needs. So anyone who is not selected for the governor's coaching corps, we will definitely be funneling them into the community of practice. And for those that were willing to take on that commitment of the governor's coaching corps, we want to create those leaders in the community of practice and in their regions. So there's a lot of opportunity, even if you're not one of the 35 that is selected for the governor's coaching corps. The other thing with that is that the coaching corps will take place for at least 3 years in Indiana. So those that aren't selected for the governor's coaching corps this year will be have the opportunity to apply again next year. All right, so just running through my last couple of slides real quick so you guys can continue on with your meeting. To be eligible, as I said, all you need to be is a career coach under our very broad definition. So again, any adult ed provider in Indiana would be eligible, but we would especially love those that maybe have more of that career focus, if that is, program by program or institution by institution within Indiana. So any provider that works at a public workforce center, a community, four-year or technical college, K through 12, nonprofit that provides career advising services, Purdue Extension, or any program at another provider that's funded by DWD or a staffing agency. The big thing is that they're providing career services to job seekers, students, or workers, and that they live in Indiana. For the coaching corps, because it is selective, we are looking, everyone, when they apply, will have to include a nomination letter from the director of their organization. You have to complete the application, which we have the link for, and you have to work ideally with job seekers for at least 1 year, not necessarily at their current position for 1 year, but in total in their career, at least for 1 year. So in terms of next steps and the timeline, the applications for the Governor's Coaching Corps close on February 27th. If you guys were on our original webinar, we originally had them closing on Friday, and with Bill, our executive director, coming on the 28th and really starting to hit the ground running, we wanted to make sure he had enough time to help spread the word and that we could participate on calls like this to answer questions and share the information. So those applications will close on February 27th. We'll announce the selected Coaching Corps members during the week of the 4th. The Community of Practice registration will open shortly after that, and the first webinar there will be held in April. The dates for the Governor's Coaching Corps retreats have been confirmed. The March 18th through 19th is the first launch retreat, and that's where the Coaching Corps members will be having lunch with Governor Holcomb, and at the last retreat is when they'll have the action team presentations, and there'll be some words shared from Governor Holcomb there too. So that is the timeline. The next steps on the next slide, I have the link available for the actual application. We want to make sure that we're sharing this with anyone you think would be, if there are people that came to mind when I was talking about any of these programs, please share this with them. We really want all of Indiana represented. We've seen real value when we have a diverse group of coaches from across the state and from across different institutions in Colorado, and we're just so excited to get started. So I wanted to also answer any questions you may have. This is my direct line and my email, so if you have information or ideas or concerns or questions, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to take all of that feedback and change the program and adapt it so it best suits you all, and we're just really excited to get started.
Okay, thank you very much, Catherine, and please email or give Catherine a call if you have questions. All righty, let's turn to a new program, Indiana's online-only distance education program. As we said last month, late last year, Vincennes University was awarded a grant to operate the program statewide. Hannah Price is the online ABE coordinator at Vincennes University, and she's on the line with us this morning to discuss the Indiana online-only distance education program. Now, she presented, as you will recall, on our call last month, but I know it was very, very difficult to hear, and we wanted to have Hannah back this month. Hannah?
Hello. I just want to give you guys a quick overview of the program and an update since our last call last month. If you want to go on to the next slide, get started with that. All right, so our updates since January state call, we have partnered with, our slide says 6 providers, but we're actually up to 8 now since I made this slide. And we are ready and accepting new students from providers all over the state. If you would like to be partnered with us, all you need to do is complete the provider information form that we emailed out the link to. It is a Google Doc, so you will have to log into a Google account to fill that out. We sent that link out for that form after last call, and we can send that out again today. Many of you reached out to me after our call with additional questions about the program, so I did create an updated question and answer sheet to include those questions that I hadn't thought of before. So a lot of great questions, so they're on there, and I'm happy to have any one-on-one conversations with anyone. I've done that with some different programs through email, or you can feel free to call me. My phone number will be listed at the end of the slides here. We have received a lot of questions about the success with our program. So for our current VU students that are enrolled in the program, our Table 4 data right now is 58.3%. And we have an online curriculum snapshot. If you want to jump over to the next slide, it's bigger. All right, so this is a snapshot of our online curriculum that we are using. It does say that we have 43 students registered. This is for the VU program that has registered since July. So not all of those students are still active or contributing to the hours and data that you see here. Some of them have completed the program. Active students right now that I have that are actively working for the week of the data that I selected, and I went from last Wednesday to this Wednesday. I have 9 active students, and average time per day is 1 hour, and the average time per week is 130 minutes. Most of my students do complete more time than that. They are required to complete 4 hours of work a week, but some of the students on here are new students that haven't been on there for the whole week to get that 130-minute average, or that to up that average. So that is an average there. As you can see, most of our students, when they log in, if you look at the little pie graph there, most of our students are spending more than an hour at a time each time they log in. And we have, from those students in this selection, we have completed over 600 lessons. Those are individualized lessons to each of those students. So that's a pretty big number to try to accomplish in the classroom. So that's one thing that distance ed really brings to our students, is that the curriculum is individualized to their needs. So I just wanted to give you a look at this so you can kind of see the success that we're having with the curriculum website also. And then on the next slide, we'll go through just a review of the processes of how to get started with us. So the first thing that you'll need to do is complete the provider partnership form. This just gathers some information so I know how to contact you and where you're located. And then after you get signed up with us, you will receive a confirmation email letting you know that I have your information and that you are ready to start referring students. When you have identified a student that is ready for the online program, there is another Google form that you just fill out for student referral. That includes their TAPE scores, their contact information, who the referring instructor is, and I will send an email to that student letting them know that they have been enrolled in the online program. The instructor that is assigned to that student for your local program will also be CC'd on that initial contact email, and then we will continue to provide progress updates on that student. Anytime that a student is making progress or moving to the next step, the local instructor will be notified. Or if we're having problems contacting that student, we will CC the local provider also, so they stay in contact with us about where the student is in the program. And then your next step is post-testing. When a student is ready to post-test, the online instructor will coordinate a time with the local providers, get that post-testing set up, and we will refer the student back to the local classroom to complete that. If you do online testing, we will either provide you with an online test ticket, or if you do paper pencil testing, we'll provide those testing materials to you. Once a student completes their testing there at the local program, we will either refer them on to start the readiness or continue on with the program at that time. So this is a really quick overview of the program. Wanted to get on and just kind of refresh and go over in case anything was missed with the hecticness of technical difficulties last month. But if you have any questions, the next slide has my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to go through the program with you one-on-one and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Any questions, please feel free to email Hannah, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer. So thank you again, Hannah. Also this morning we have Scott here, and I know many of you are probably wondering about the 2019-2020 grant continuation. So Scott?
Good morning, everyone, and greetings from the capital of the Galactic Star Empire, Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm sure many of you are curious about, that was my homage to Chris Fitzgerald. So if he's listening, that was for you, Chris. I'm sure many of you are wondering about when we are going to release the RFA for the grant continuation process for both IELCE and ABE. We are still working on making some small changes that DWD's legal department has asked us to make, and we are still ironing out the details on how exactly the distribution of funds for IET is what it's going to look like. However, you should expect that by the end of this week, we will have released and made public the RFA. You will have until the 25th of this month to send us in any questions. And please, we always there's a number of people who I can count on to always ask questions, but no matter how small the question is, if you have a question related to the grant, related to something in it, please send it to us, because I assure you, just like with your students in the classroom, you are not the only one with that question, and there really aren't any such thing as stupid questions when it comes to asking about how the grant process is going to work. What does this mean? What does that mean when it comes to the money that funds adult education in this state? So we will release the answers to those questions on March 1st. You will have until April 1st to submit the RFA, 5 p.m. Eastern time. So those of you who are in Central Time, be aware that that's 4 p.m. for you. And you should expect a award decision from us in early May. We're shooting for the first week of May. And with that, I will turn this back over to Jerry. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or Donna.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. We are very pleased to announce that, and we have made this announcement a couple of times so far, that Roy Melton is our new WEI coordinator for adult education. He is there to help you and your programs with the Workforce Initiative. So Roy is here this morning, and he's going to give you a couple of updates. Roy?
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning, everyone. Please write down my email so that you can contact me if you have any questions or concerns, or if you have an employer that you want to reach out to and you don't have enough time to do it or anything like that. Please shoot me an email. If you have an idea for a WEI, shoot me an email. We are now at 53 WEIs for the state, so thank you for everyone for putting in your hard work. I want to thank the programs and the business service reps that I've already contacted, who are very willing to collaborate. And everyone, please keep up the hard work. And again, send me an email if you have any ideas for WEIs, or if you need me to reach out to an employer or anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roy. Nancy is back, and she is going to do the professional development report. Nancy?
As Jerry mentioned earlier, these trainings, we want you to be sure to remind you again, we have the next director PDF meeting February 22nd in Indianapolis. As Jerry mentioned earlier, we're going to flip the building, so the directors will be going into the building where the PDFs attended last time, and the PDFs will go into the directors, where the directors met last time. Also, as you can see, we'll have the next one in May as well, so put those on your calendars. We have contracted PD trainings coming up. Evidence-based reading will be held March 14th and 15th at the J. Everett Light Center in Indianapolis. Please be sure and turn in your reservations as soon as you can. There will be a pre-webinar February 20th, so be sure and put that on your calendar as well. And at the May 10th PDF meeting, we will have new teacher training. Also, Jerry mentioned we are rescheduling the IET WEI training. Those of you that have attended the training already have commented how wonderful it was, how much it helped everybody understand the process a little bit better, and it gave a lot of people many ideas for the future. So if you have not attended that training when it comes out, be sure and attend it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Jessica is here this morning, and she has several Work Indiana updates. Jessica?
Hi, everyone. The January monthly Work Indiana report was issued February 6th. The data on this slide is from that report. Completion and certification rates are looking great, and we are beyond our to-date goal for enrollment. Also listed within the monthly report sent out last week was the statewide data for JAGs, ERGs, and TANFs. With the school year quickly approaching the end, please begin to think about reaching out to your local JAG programs to inform JAG graduates of working Indiana. This would also be a great time to inform any non-JAG graduates of AE. We are still seeing little movement on the ERG. Please reach out to me with questions or concerns you may have. We can set up a telephone or in-person meeting to strategize a plan to utilize this funding. Finally, please remember your TANF funds. While there are a few extra steps to utilize these funds, they are available to most grantees. It could allow you to send extra students through. Again, please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. All working in funds at this time have been allocated. If additional funds become available, we will let all grantees know as soon as possible. I am currently reviewing grant balances. I will be reaching out to those programs that appear to be underutilizing their funding to date. Please review your utilization to help determine if any adjustments need to be made to the funding. Lastly, as a follow-up to last month's slides, please encourage all your training providers that offer training for 5 SLIM credentials to apply for next level job eligibility. Eligible programs must first be approved and funded on the in-training eligible training provider list.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Let's move on to enters, and Matt has a lot to say about programming and the errors that I mentioned earlier that we discovered. So, Matt?
Good morning, everybody. Okay, first I'm going to cover the IEP process really quick. They wanted me to mention that. So on the performance report, you're going to get enrollments for being enrolled in the IEP. To be able to get the information as a completer, you have to manually go into the student record, hit the drop down on the correct session, and you got to scroll to the right to look at that session to make sure that you're on the 18-19 course and complete them. There's 3 options: currently enrolled, dropped, or completed. The only 2 you should be using currently are completed and dropped. Currently enrolled would only be if they go over one program year to the next. That's the only way that you're going to get the completion percentage for your IETs. Even if you are partnered with a Work Indiana or an in-training provider, that information does not update your IET course. So you have to manually go in and update that. The changes to Table 4. So this year we changed Table 4 to give you a gain in any focus subject. And when we made that change, they coded it to where any gain counted. For example, I start at an NRS level 3, I post-test and I didn't do so well, and I did a reverse gain down to an NRS level 2, and then I post-tested again to NRS level 3. Technically, that is a gain, but is not a gain from your entry level. So the focus subject was always coded to look at the entry level. When we added in gains to any focus subject, that code didn't get put in, so every gain was counted, regardless of if it was from a reverse gain or anything. It is now coded to look at the entry level of every test, and you will only get a gain when you make an NRS level gain from the entry level of said test. The other issue that we had, and the reason why the counts went down, was when we added in the language for the post-secondary institution counting as the MSG, or post-secondary enrollment. There was some miscommunication. He counted every single Work Indiana enrollment as a post-secondary MSG gain. So that was removed Friday. We're still trying to make sure that the post-secondary stuff counts, because the only way to get that MSG is if they exit the adult basic ed program. So if you are enrolled in Work Indiana and enrolled in adult ed, concurrently, you will never get an MSG for that post-sec. You cannot. By federal definition, you have to exit from the AE program and enroll into a post-secondary program after exit. So there was a lot of confusion on that. The certification counts should be working correctly now for your points performance report. If you still have any questions on your certs, I need specific student examples. We'll look at it. If you still have issues with your table 4 for specific student gains, let me know by student individual. We'll look at it. It should all be okay now. I know we took a huge hit, like Jerry said, in the percentage, and some programs were more than others, because if you had a lot of work Indiana enrollments, you lost all of those MSGs that weren't supposed to be counting at all anyway. So if you have any questions, email us, and we'll try to take care of it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Matt. Wow, a lot of information there. IAACE. Jennifer, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I am so excited, and I hope you are too, because registration for the conference, April 24th, 25th, and 26th, is open. You can register on the website as a member for $199, as a non-member for $319. So don't pay that extra. Go ahead and renew your membership or join at the member sign-in. And don't forget to book your hotel for the conference by March 30th. All that information can be found on our IAACE.com website. And the next slide. Officer and board nominations are closed. Voting will begin on March 6th. You will receive an email on that with a specific link for that. So please make sure you mark your dates so that we can get 100% of members voting for the board this year. Next up, award nominations are open. Consider nominating someone from all of the categories. It would be awesome if we could get a nomination for every category from each region. So work with other organizations in your region, work with each other, just get your nominations in for the adult learner, the paraprofessional, the new adult educator, the outstanding adult educator, administrating coordinator, tutor volunteer, and of course the business and industry partnership award. And don't forget that those awards will be presented at the conference on Thursday, April 25th at the lunchtime, so that you can make arrangements for those individuals to be there when necessary. The deadline is Monday, March 4th. Next up, the lip sync challenge. Have you heard about it? We sent out an email, short and sweet, last night, so you can find out all the details. We have one person who has already submitted their video. You can search IAACE Conference 19 to find that, and there is also a video to explain all the details in the email. But basically, you can just take the challenge by getting a group together, lip syncing to your favorite superhero song to bring awareness to adult education. So I hope you can participate, and we will be doing something fun with those at conference. So get on board, lip sync. And prize donations. Last year, you guys all did fabulous with bringing prize donations. We want to make sure that we have as many prizes as last year. And since you guys did so fabulous, we're asking for donations from organizations to compete for the best prize. If you would like to submit a prize, bring a prize, then there is a form that you can submit, or you can contact any board member, send me an email. We just want to make sure we have a count so we have enough table space to display them all. Next step. That's it. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Wow, we've covered a lot of information this morning. Thank you for your patience. The technology really worked well. Thank you, Matt. directors and PDFs, we will see you next Friday at the Shepherd Community Center on the east side of Indianapolis. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Our next statewide webinar will be March 13th, 2019 at 10 a.m., just a couple weeks from spring. I think we're all looking forward to spring. Please have a great afternoon. Thank you very much.